Hey everyone, a lot of you will know we have a site full of team comps for TFT, but we also do these expert video guides to take it one step further. You can find all of our comps for set 5 on our website and all the information like spatulas, which is linked down below. So this comp uses the Skirmisher trait to make a team of units that all slowly gain damage over the course of the fight. Your main carry is going to be Jax, who deals really good damage and can be pretty mobile with his ability too. The comp is a default leveling comp, which means you'll be trying to put your gold into leveling and roll most of that at level 7 or 8 to find your carries like your Jax. Our full level 8 team is going to be Jax, Viego, Diana, Rel, Lee Sin, Nidalee, Pantheon, and Kennen. Your best chance to win with this comp and to come first place is first of all completing your entire team with 2-star units and good items that will get you a solid top 4. Jax can struggle a little bit compared to other carries because he's melee, but this comp can still come out on top through things like good positioning like swapping sides and items. Getting a Jax 3-star or hitting level 9 will massively increase your chance of winning, but those aren't going to be able to be relied on every single game. So let's go over a couple of options. Now the first big option is to replace your Viego with Trundle if you can't find him. He is a 5-cost unit. You might not be able to find him every game straight away, but once you do, you definitely look to replace him because his ability is very, very strong. This also means, though, you don't have to run Diana, so you could look to use something like Darius or Garen for more frontline. Speaking of Diana, she is a really good unit to add to the team because she provides Dragon Slayer with Pantheon and Assassin with Viego. If you find yourself up against a lot of attack damage comps, though, you can consider replacing Diana with Nautilus to hit your 3 Ironclad. This will make your team comp very effective against attack damage comps with lots of increased armor. In the late game, you can also look to replace some of your Skirmisher units for stronger late game units. Darius applies an armor shred to enemies, making a pretty useful addition to this team, and then Volibear and Ivan also provide a lot of frontline for the team, which is going to buy Jax a bit more time. So now let's go into our spatula options. Now there are loads of different options you can run here, but Skirmisher Spatula is the obvious addition to the team. That will allow you to drop a Skirmisher like Nidalee or Lee Sin who aren't really doing anything in order to fit in a stronger unit like Darius. Darius is also very nice because he will shred the armor of enemies, allowing the rest of the team to deal a lot more damage. Another option for this would be making a Mordekaiser a Skirmisher and adding back in Trundle. That would give you 4 Dragon Slayer and give you a very powerful frontline. Though it might seem a bit weird, Assassin Jax can also do really well. Jax can kind of struggle getting past front lines as he's a melee unit, but Assassin Emblem will allow him to bypass that. This trick will not work the entire game as enemies can still position themselves so Jax doesn't jump onto a backline carry though. Now unfortunately, Shadow Spatulas don't provide the best thing for this comp, but you can make things like Dragon Slayer Emblem and swap out Nidalee for Trundle to run 4 Dragon Slayer. This is especially good if you cannot find your Rel, but you find Mordekaiser instead and use him as another carry. Now let's go into our shadowed item. So Risk Thirster is a solid item as it provides a lot of survivability to Jax. The loss of health early on can very quickly be healed back with the damage he can output, and then he just gets attack speed every time he tops back up. Ruinous Hurricane is a very strong item on Jax because his damage is auto attack based, but the shadowed version is especially good because Jax doesn't need to apply any on-hit effects, so this item will help scale his damage a lot. Shadowed Quicksilver is a very strong defensive item on Jax. He is susceptible to crowd control because he's a melee unit, so this will allow him to become immune to crowd control at the cost of health. Outside of your Jax, Kennen is a very strong unit that provides solid crowd control for the team, but Shadow Morello allows his ability to apply a very powerful burn effect. We also run Diana as one of our 2 assassins, so Frozen Dark Heart is really good. It means that she can apply that debuff to enemy backline units really easily. She might also debuff Viego with this item, so you want to try and position them in a way that doesn't happen, normally on opposite sides. Now let's move into our items. So our main carry is Jax. General item wise, like most AD carries, Jax will do well with attack damage items like Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, Giant Slayer, stuff like that. Ruinous Hurricane or Shadow Hurricane are also very strong items to help him reach range units with his attacks as well. Lastly, defensive items like Bloodthirster, Quicksilver, and Guardian Angel are all very strong items for Jax. You can actually also run an item like Rapid Fire Cannon or Rapid Death Cannon to give Jax range. This can be really effective to reduce the time he spends walking or getting hit by crowd control, but it can be weaker compared to other more offensive items. A good 3-item example would be Risk Thirster, Caustic Quicksilver, Rune's Untamed Hurricane together. Now let's talk about some good items on our non-carry unit. So like previously mentioned, Kennen's ability can hit multiple enemies, so having either Morello item like the Morello or Shadow Morello can be really strong. Diana also gets very easy access to the backline, so you can use her to debuff enemies with either Frozen Heart item, and it's actually very strong against anything like Draven or Aphelios. Finally, Viego is a very good late game secondary carry. Quicksilver ensures his ability doesn't get interrupted, but the blue buff helps him cast a bit quicker. Now let's go stage by stage and break down the strategy of the comp. So the general idea is we default leveling up to 8. With almost all default level comps, you can start the game with just about any units and look to either win streak or lose streak depending on how lucky you are. Even if you aren't running skirmisher units at this point, if you plan on running the comp, make sure to build strong items for Jax and pick up any skirmishers you can. So during stage 3 then you level up to 6 at 3-2 and you build the strongest board that you can with the units that you find. You want to try and avoid rolling if you can do and wait to at least level 7 before you do that, but try to keep any skirmisher units here so that you have an easier time transitioning. During stage 4 you level up to 7 at 4-1 and if you need to stabilize you should roll down here to find and build a stronger team. If you're healthy or you're strong enough to hold off, wait until level 8 to roll down, but normally you'll need at least one Jax or a very strong carry to hold his items. During stage 5 then, you want to definitely be 8 by 5-1 and then roll down to complete the rest of your team. This means picking up everything that you can and then either you have the choice of rolling a bit more to get stronger or going to level 9. Positioning with this comp is a little bit tricky. For the most part, you want your units in the front so that Jax spends less time walking around to hit things. Nidalee and Kennen can go one row back as they are ranged units, but lastly, you want to position Viego so that he lands on an enemy carry and steals them. His ability will provide some really good single target crowd control, and then Diana should be positioned similarly, but you can give her a little bit more space as her ability hits multiple units around her. Here's going to be a good example of an early game board that uses skirmishers for a really easy transition into this comp later. Now that will give you everything you need to know to win with our 6 skirmisher comp, and remember you can follow along with this guide in game with our TFT overlay, so make sure you download that and bring it with you into your next game.